Have you ever felt a sense of detachment? Not from feeling less, but from something deeper. Have you watched others talk endlessly while you mostly observe? Not because you lack words, but because yours carry weight. Have you wondered why silence comforts you while others fear it? There's something about you that you might not fully understand. Something you might have tried to hide to fit in. But it's not shyness. It's not insecurity. It's different. Most wouldn't grasp it. Maybe you haven't faced it yet. You've heard, talk more, participate, stop being so quiet. Deep down, didn't you feel they didn't understand you because you understood them? It's often the core. You read between the lines, you see the intentions behind words, the fear in those pretending to be brave, the need to be heard even with nothing substantial to say. While others are lost in trivial talk, you perceive layers of meaning. You notice, but don't announce it. You simply know. In a world valuing speed over depth, your silence can be unsettling. Your gaze can make others uneasy. Your pauses can confuse. They see you and can't grasp your thoughts. This lack of understanding makes them nervous. Why? Because they can't easily read you. You aren't invisible. You are unreadable. In an era of oversharing, this makes you an enigma. Enigmas spark varied reactions. Rejection or silent admiration, sometimes both. You felt it. That mix of attraction and suspicion you evoke effortlessly. Your presence seems to highlight others' superficiality. You, the quiet observer, register every detail. You stay in the background until you choose to act. Then, everyone notices, surprised by your actions. Does this sound familiar? It likely does. You've been told to leave your comfort zone. But your comfort zone is where they couldn't survive in depth, where ideas are rich, thought is intense, and silence has weight. Do you see? You're not just shy, you're different. They might not have a name for it, but you recognize it. You are more awake, more attentive, more aware. Your social interaction isn't less, it's more selective. Your quietness isn't introversion, it's often calculation. Not in a manipulative way, but because you understand that talking just to talk wastes energy. And you conserve energy. Consider this. What if your silence isn't a flaw? What if it's a sign, a clue, a mark that you operate on another level? You're not mute, you're precise. You're not distant, you're far but watching. And that can be unsettling. Most need approval, you need truth. Most need noise, you need structure. While they expose themselves to feel alive, you find strength in the unseen, where lasting impact is often built quietly. Now tell me, do you really think you're just shy? There's something else you feel when you enter a room. Gazes might not seek you, but they sense your presence. You don't speak, but the atmosphere shifts. Your mere being reminds them of something they avoid. It's not intentional, but it happens. You make them uncomfortable, not by being aggressive, but by not playing their social games. Your silence isn't submission, it's control. And for those needing constant attention, that can be unforgivable. You reveal something without saying a word. That's a powerful, often hidden advantage. Some dominate by talking. You dominate with a look. This wasn't taught. You discovered it through being misunderstood, through being called weird, closed, distant, without them grasping your clarity. When you're more aware, you see what others deny. The insecurities hidden by jokes, the emptiness behind social masks, the fear masked by forced laughter. And you know saying it would be futile. It would cause defensiveness. This can feel isolating. You're not alone, but it can seem that way. Being awake in a world that often sleeps consciously is tiring. A realization comes. You weren't born to be like everyone else. You are born to observe what they miss, to build where they might destroy, to think when they react. You're not broken. You're calibrated differently. This difference isn't in the life manuals they gave you. It doesn't fit into loud parties or meetings where everyone competes to speak. Your strength lies elsewhere, in unseen decisions, in subtle gestures missed by others, in that strong intuition that rarely fails. While they need data, you often already know. You don't think with noise, you think with echoes, with patterns, with silences. And that isn't weakness. It's an evolutionary advantage, a subtle form of natural selection, an intelligence disguised. Here's where things shift. Once you understand who you are, you stop expecting others to understand you. You stop trying to fit into a mold that isn't yours. Then your true advantage begins. You no longer seek to fit in, you aim to have an impact. You no longer want approval, you want direction. You transition from adapting to making others slightly uneasy. When your presence makes others uncomfortable, it's because your energy challenges unspoken structures. Your silence isn't passivity, it's a deliberate strategy, a form of quiet mastery. People might not understand why they feel observed by you, why their tone lowers when you turn, why they avoid your eyes. It's because they see something in you that they struggle to see in themselves. Coherence. You are a subtle challenge without raising your voice. This comes from living with depth. You've spent years thinking your way of being was a flaw to fix, when in reality, you might be operating with a more effective system in a world full of distractions. While others compete for attention, you've realized power isn't just in being seen, but in seeing everything, in seeing ahead, in seeing more deeply. You're not simply shy, you are intentionally discerning about your visibility, and that can be remarkably potent. Now, when someone tells you to talk more, just smile. They assume silence means a lack of thought, but you know that those who don't need to speak have often thought things through thoroughly. They underestimate you, and that can be a form of protection. You don't need to prove anything. While they see you as a misfit, you've likely already grasped the larger picture. So yes, remain quiet, but let your silence suggest strength. Let your gaze convey what words don't need to. Let your calm make the superficial world a bit nervous. That's your essence, and there's no need to apologize for it. If you've connected with this, it's likely not by chance. This message resonates with the quiet observer, the mind that has felt out of sync. It's not dismissive, it's a reflection, one that not everyone is ready for, but perhaps you are. If this feels uncomfortably accurate, acknowledge it. Share just a glimpse. Reflect on this idea. My silence isn't empty, it's radar. Leave that with those who don't understand. Let them be curious. To those who do understand, let them know they aren't alone. And if this has stirred something within you, if you feel your quiet intensity has finally found words, consider connecting further. Because here, the aim isn't to speak to everyone, but to connect with those who see more, who think when others just talk, who understand the power of silence. Perhaps we will connect again. Or perhaps, like you, I'll simply be observing from the periphery. After all, the one who is silent often holds a subtle form of influence. You felt that loneliness, haven't you? Surrounded by people, yet feeling distant. Not from a lack of caring, but often from caring deeply. That's why you reserve yourself, why you choose your battles, why you might seek solitude, not from fear, but from clarity. You know that speaking to those who won't listen is unproductive. You prioritize depth over noise. Here's something often unsaid. That feeling of being the odd one out, the emptiness in superficial conversations, the constant sense of not fitting in. These aren't flaws. They can be signs of a heightened awareness. You've crossed a threshold of perception that others haven't. You've developed an insight you can't simply turn off, and that's why you might sometimes wish to go back, to be normal, to enjoy the things that easily captivate others. But you can't. You've likely tried to force more talk, to fit in, to follow the expected script, but something inside resists because it feels inauthentic. And here's the core truth. Once you've seen what's beneath the surface, you can't unsee it. That clarity is irreversible. It's not always easy to live with, but you likely wouldn't trade it because within that unique perspective lies a distinct power. You don't speak less because you can't. You speak less because you understand the weight of words. You've seen the impact of careless communication. You choose your words carefully, not from muteness, but from prudence. This difference often goes unnoticed by those who live to please, while you live to understand. They act, you anticipate. They react, you analyze. This might make you seem slow, but you might be seeing further ahead. This way of being, while offering unique insights, does have its challenges. It's not always a simple superpower, especially when you're still navigating why you feel different, or when you feel like an observer in a foreign land during social interactions. The cost of silence can be significant. Misunderstandings, unfair labels, missed superficial connections, seeing others with less substance but more volume, occupy attention you never sought through overt means. People often don't see depth without a certain level of outward display, and you, perhaps by principle, have never prioritized that kind of display. What you possess is different, the steady, constant light of a candle in a dark room. Subtle, persistent, hard to ignore once truly noticed, but easily missed by those looking for something more flamboyant. And so you might pass through life, unnoticed by many, but unforgettable to a few. And those few, they truly see you. When that happens, the dynamic shifts. Your perceived shyness becomes a filter, naturally repelling the superficial and attracting the authentic. It's a subtle but effective sorting mechanism. The shallow won't even approach, the empty won't perceive you, but those with their own inner richness will recognize you, as if speaking a shared unspoken language. This is where your apparent disadvantage becomes a strategic advantage. You don't offer yourself cheaply in a world often desperate for validation. Have you noticed? The quieter you are, the more noise you might inadvertently create in others' minds. They might not understand why you don't seek their approval. It can feel like a subtle challenge to their own way of being, and in a way, it is. Without saying much, you demonstrate the possibility of wholeness without constant external validation, the potential for clarity without incessant talk, and the strength of inner conviction without needing permission. And that can be disarming. One of your most potent abilities is that when you choose to speak, your words carry weight because you don't dilute them with unnecessary chatter. You let the silences contribute to your message. And when you finally do speak, people tend to listen, not because of volume, but because of its rarity. You didn't learn this from books. You learned it from discomfort, from years of feeling slightly out of place, from conversations where you seemed to be on a different frequency. That dissonance might have made you question yourself. Why can't I simply be like everyone else? From a scientific perspective, this might relate to a preference for deeper cognitive processing. Emotionally, it can lead to a strong sense of self-reliance and a deep appreciation for authentic connection over superficial engagement.